If you're hearing a soft ringing, a faint buzzing, or a high-pitched tone that never quite leaves, I'd like you to pause with me for just a moment. Not to fight the sound, not to judge it, just to notice it calmly. Because what you're experiencing is not a failure of your body, and it's not simply what happens when you get older. In fact, more than 25 million adults in the United States live with tinnitus every single day. And research shows that after the age of 60, the risk doesn't rise suddenly. It rises quietly, sometimes without warning, sometimes even when your hearing tests still look normal. And that's what makes tinnitus so unsettling. It feels invisible, hard to explain, and too often people are told to just live with it. But here's something most people are never told, and it changes the way we understand this sound completely. In many cases, the noise you hear is not actually coming from your ears. It's coming from a confused signal inside the nervous system. As we age, the brain becomes more sensitive to changes in sensory input. If a sound signal arrives distorted, weakened, or incomplete, the brain doesn't like silence, so it fills in the gaps. Neurologists sometimes call this a kind of phantom signal, similar to how some people feel sensations in a limb that's no longer there. The brain creates sound when it doesn't receive clear information. That ringing may not be damage. It may be your nervous system trying to make sense of an unclear message. And when stress, fatigue, or aging nerves are added to that mix, the signal can loop, repeating itself over and over, especially in quiet moments at night when there's nothing else to compete with it. So if you've ever wondered why the ringing gets louder when the room is silent, or why it feels worse when you're tired or anxious, there's a reason. Your brain is listening very closely. And today, instead of treating tinnitus like an enemy, I want to invite you to look at it differently. Not as something to fear, not as something to surrender to, but as a signal, one that may still be guided back toward calm. Take a breath with me, because understanding is often the first quiet step toward relief. Part 1, setting the frame. As we grow older, something subtle begins to happen inside the body. Not a breakdown, not a collapse, but a gradual shift. Signals that once traveled cleanly and effortlessly begin to lose their clarity. The ears may still be intact. The hearing test may still look acceptable. Yet the conversation between the ear, the nerve, and the brain is no longer as smooth as it once was. Think of it like an old radio. The station is still there. The volume knob still works. But the signal has static. Modern research in neurology and audiology shows that tinnitus often appears not because the ear is too loud, but because the brain is working harder to interpret incomplete or distorted sound information. And the brain, especially after 50, does not like uncertainty. When sound signals arrive weakened by subtle ear blockage, by nerve tension, or by age-related changes in circulation, the brain compensates. It turns up its internal volume, not to harm you, but to protect you. Unfortunately, that protection can sound like ringing, buzzing, or a tone that refuses to fade into the background. This is why tinnitus so often feels worse at night. When the world becomes quiet, the brain has nothing else to listen to, so it listens to itself. And the more attention we give that sound, the stronger the loop becomes. What's important to understand here is that tinnitus is rarely a single problem. It's a conversation gone off rhythm, a physical pathway that isn't clear, a nerve that's been overstimulated, a brain that's trying a little too hard to keep you safe. And that's why shouting at it, fighting it, or desperately chasing silence often makes it louder. What helps instead is restoring clarity, not all at once, not forcefully, but gently. by giving the nervous system a signal it recognizes as steady, predictable, and safe. That's the perspective we're working from today. Not how do I silence this sound immediately, but rather, how do I help my brain realize that it no longer needs to create it? And once that frame is clear, the simple technique I'm about to share with you starts to make sense. Not as a trick, but as a conversation with your own nervous system. Take another slow breath, because everything from here on builds on this understanding. Part 2, clearing the pathway. Before we talk about any exercise, any technique, or any way to calm the nervous system, we need to pause and talk about something very basic, something almost too simple, the pathway itself, because no signal, no matter how gentle or well-intended, can travel clearly if the path it moves through is partially blocked. As we age, earwax doesn't behave the way it used to. In younger years, it often dries, moves outward, and clears on its own. But after 50 or 60, that process slows down. The wax becomes thicker, it sits deeper in the ear canal, and many people don't feel it at all. Large clinical studies in the US have shown that nearly 1 in 3 adults over 65 has enough earwax buildup to noticeably distort sound transmission, even when they don't feel blocked. That distortion matters more than most people realize, because the ear's job is not just to hear sound, it's to send a clean vibration signal to the brain. When that vibration arrives slightly muffled, uneven, or delayed, the brain doesn't receive silence, it receives uncertainty. And uncertainty makes the brain work harder. It begins to amplify, to compensate, to fill in what it thinks is missing. For some people, that compensation sounds like ringing. For others, buzzing, humming, or a high-pitched tone that seems to come from nowhere. And here's the part that often surprises people. Even the most effective nerve-calming exercises won't work properly if the ears themselves aren't clear. It's like trying to tune a piano while one string is still tangled. You can press the keys perfectly, but the sound will never settle. That's why clearing the ears safely is not a side note. It's the foundation, not aggressively, not with cotton swabs pushed too deep, not with force or guesswork, but carefully, with visibility, patience, and respect for the ear's natural shape. Once the pathway is open, the nervous system can finally receive information without distortion. And only then does the brain have the option to stop filling in the gaps. This is where many people notice their tinnitus change, sometimes even before doing any exercise at all. Not because something magical happened, but because the body was finally given a clear line of communication again. So before we ask the nervous system to calm down, we make sure it can hear us clearly. That's how cooperation begins. And once that pathway is clear, we're ready to move forward, gently, deliberately, into the next step. Part 3, a moment of awareness. Now, before we touch the body, before we tap or move anything at all, I want to invite you into a moment of awareness. This part may sound simple, but it's one of the most important steps. Gently close your eyes, if that feels comfortable, and bring your attention to the sound in your ears exactly as it is right now. Not how you wish it were, not how you fear it might become, just as it is. Notice its tone, its distance, its rhythm. Is it sharp or soft, steady or changing? There's no right answer here. What we're doing in this moment is giving the brain a clear reference point. Neurology teaches us that the brain recognizes change only when it knows where it started. Without awareness, even real improvement can pass unnoticed. And when improvement goes unnoticed, the brain keeps holding on to the old pattern. So take a breath, let the shoulders drop, let the jaw soften. Now, if you had to describe the sound on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the loudest it's ever been. Quietly choose a number. You don't need to say it out loud. Just remember it. This number is not a judgment. It's not a diagnosis. It's simply a marker. A way of telling the nervous system, this is where we are right now. Many people skip this step because they're eager for relief. But awareness is not delay, it's preparation. When the nervous system feels seen, not rushed, not forced, it becomes more willing to change. And sometimes just this moment of calm attention is enough to soften the sound slightly. If that happens, notice it. If it doesn't, that's okay too. Either way, you're doing this correctly. Because what we're building here is not control, it's communication. And once that communication is established, we can move gently into the physical step, with clarity and with trust. Part 4, the 30-second tapping exercise. Now that you have a clear sense of where the sound is, we can move gently into the physical step. This part takes only about 30 seconds, but what matters here is not speed, it's precision and rhythm. Raise your hands slowly. Rest your index finger on top of your middle finger, as if you were preparing to snap. But instead of snapping outward, you'll allow the fingers to tap downward. The location is important. Bring your hands behind your ears, to the back of your head, along the bony ridge just behind the ear. This area is called the occiput, and it sits close to where the auditory nerve travels upward into the brain. If you imagine drawing a straight line back from the ear, this is where your fingers should land. Once you're there, begin to tap. Use that gentle snapping motion to tap the skull 20 times. Not fast, not slow, just steady. Each tap should feel firm, but never painful, like knocking politely on a door. We're not massaging, we're not rubbing, and we're not trying to force anything. What we're doing is sending a clear, rhythmic signal through the bone and into the nervous system. Neurologically, this kind of consistent sensory input gives the brain something new to process, a signal that can interrupt the loop that keeps the auditory nerve firing on its own. Many people are surprised by how simple this feels, almost too simple. But the nervous system often responds best to clarity, not intensity. So stay relaxed. Let the neck and shoulders remain soft. If your hands feel tired or unsteady, pause. There's no need to push through. The effectiveness of this exercise comes from timing and intention, not strength. When you finish the 20 taps, let your hands rest. Take a slow breath and stay right where you are, because the next step is just as important as the tapping itself. Part 5, pause and observe now. Pause. Don't rush into the next step. Just sit with the silence or whatever sound is present for a few seconds. Take a gentle breath in and let it go slowly. Bring your attention back to your ears, not to search for the sound and not to push it away. Simply notice, has anything shifted, even slightly? Maybe the sound feels farther away. Maybe it's softer around the edges. Maybe it hasn't changed much at all, but it feels less sharp, less intrusive. Sometimes the change is obvious. Other times it's almost shy. Easy to miss if you're not listening carefully. And that's exactly why this pause matters. The nervous system doesn't always respond in dramatic leaps. Often it adjusts in small steps, layer by layer. Neurologists describe this as recalibration, the brain gently reevaluating a signal when it receives new information. If you notice even the slightest difference, that's not coincidence, it's communication. And if you don't notice a change right away, that's okay too. It doesn't mean the exercise didn't work. It simply means the nervous system is still listening. Now quietly return to the number you chose earlier. On that same scale from 1 to 10, Where would you place the sound now? Again, there's no right or wrong answer. This number isn't about progress or failure. It's about giving the brain a clear comparison point, a way to recognize that something has shifted or that it's beginning to. Many people are surprised to find that the sound hasn't disappeared, but it no longer holds the same weight. And that's important, because relief often begins not with silence, but with space. And once that space appears, even briefly, we can build on it, gently, without pressure. Stay with me, because what we do next helps the nervous system remember this calmer state. Part 6, repeat and reinforce. Now that you've noticed where the sound is again, this is where we gently reinforce the message. The nervous system rarely changes with just one signal. It learns through repetition. Not aggressive repetition, but calm, consistent input. So if you noticed even the smallest shift, or even if you're not quite sure yet, we repeat the same tapping once more. Bring your hands back into position, index finger resting on the middle finger. Return to that same spot along the ridge behind the ears. And once again, tap 20 times, steady, rhythmic, unhurried. Think of this not as doing the exercise again, but as reminding the brain of what calm feels like. In neuroscience, repetition like this helps the brain recognize a new pattern and decide that it's safe to follow. Many people expect instant silence, and when that doesn't happen, they feel disappointed. But what actually matters here is not silence, it's change. If the sound feels less sharp, less urgent, or easier to ignore, that's progress. After this second round, pause again, breathe, and notice. Some people feel improvement after one round, others after 2 or 3, and some need to return to this exercise a few times a day before the nervous system fully settles. That's not a sign of resistance. It's simply how an older, wiser nervous system learns. Over time, these repeated moments of calm teach the auditory nerve that it doesn't need to fire constantly. The brain begins to turn down the volume on its own, not because it was forced, but because it was shown again and again that the environment is steady and safe. And once that memory forms, this simple practice becomes something you can return to anytime the sound feels louder. A quiet reminder that calm is still available to you. Part 7, when it doesn't work right away. And now I want to speak to you honestly, especially if you tried the tapping and didn't feel the change you were hoping for. If the sound didn't soften right away, if the ringing is still there, or if it only shifted slightly, that does not mean your body failed. And it certainly does not mean there's nothing more that can be done. Very often, when this exercise doesn't bring immediate relief, it's not because the signal wasn't strong enough, but because the nerve itself is asking for deeper support. As we move past 60, our nerves don't just transmit information, they depend heavily on steady nourishment, stable blood sugar, and healthy circulation. Medical research has shown that in older adults, conditions like insulin resistance and subtle blood sugar imbalance can quietly reduce how well nerves respond. And when a nerve is undernourished or overstressed, even a clear signal can struggle to get through. In those moments, tinnitus isn't a sound problem, it's a resilience problem. The tapping exercise still did its job. It revealed something important. It told us that the nervous system may need support from the inside, not more stimulation from the outside. This is where patience becomes part of healing. Not the kind of patience that gives up, but the kind that listens more closely. Because sometimes the body isn't saying, "This won't work." It's saying, "I need a little more help before I can respond." And that realization alone can shift how we treat ourselves, with less frustration and more respect. As we come to the end of this conversation, I want you to remember one thing. Your body's not broken, it is aging. And aging is not a failure, it is a shift in rhythm. When we're younger, the body corrects itself quickly. When we're older, it asks us to slow down and listen more carefully. Tinnitus is not always an enemy to defeat. Sometimes it's a message asking for clarity, for nourishment, for calm. When the ears are clear, when the signal is clean, and when the nervous system feels supported, the brain often does something remarkable. It lets go. Not because it was forced, not because it was scared into silence, but because it finally feels safe enough to stop trying so hard. And that's an important shift in perspective, especially after 60. Health at this stage of life is no longer about conquering the body, it's about cooperating with it, listening instead of battling, guiding instead of pushing. Small, steady practices, done with patience, often bring more peace than any dramatic promise ever could. So if the ringing softens today, notice it. If it takes time, respect that. Because resilience doesn't always sound like silence. Sometimes it sounds like trust returning. And that quiet confidence, the sense that your body is still capable of recalibrating, is one of the greatest strengths we carry into later life.